Okay, just a short one here because I'm angry about this and I'm not sure where else to vent about it. Anthropic has settled a lawsuit that was filed against them for training their models on copyrighted books without paying for them. And they have settled for $1.5 billion, which amounts to $3,000 per book that they stole. And well, that's just a tiny, tiny fraction of the amount that they should be paying. Not just to authors, but to every other group of people whose work they've stolen with absolute impunity. Musicians, illustrators, photographers, bloggers, random Redditors, Wikipedia contributors, editors, proofreaders, filmmakers, screenwriters, poets, lyricists, producers, researchers, translators, scientists. The list goes on and on and on. And the reason this pisses me off so much is that the work they've stolen is so much more than just the work it takes those authors to write those books, a profession that's already not very well paid and doesn't even sustain the vast majority of published writers. The problem isn't just that those authors weren't paid for their work, it's that they won't be paid anything of the money that these assholes continue to make off stolen labor in the future, won't be compensated for the fact that a company whose entire business model is replacing workers has used their work to enable that. I don't want to see anyone shamed for random acts of piracy ever again, when these glorified highway robbers steal entire livelihoods and are not brought to justice, as long as they pay a few peanuts for each book they've stolen outright. You can go to prison for shoplifting, but stealing the livelihood of an entire class of workers is somehow allowed with just a slap on the wrist. These people shouldn't just have to pay for what they've stolen. They should be in prison for what is an organized theft on a massive scale. If you think I'm exaggerating when I say that these AI people are morally no better than a Tony Soprano-style mafia, I'm not. Their goal is to make authors as a class and all the other groups that I mentioned never be paid for their work again. And somehow it's enough for them to pay a few dimes on the dollar of their executive salaries for that to be considered settled. I've never published a book, but I've written 3 novels for my desk drawer, and I'm working on a 4th one at the moment, so I have some insight into the fact that writing a book takes much longer than the time it takes to actually get the words down on the page. My longest manuscript was 200,000 words long in the first draft. I cut it down to 80,000 on revision. And even though those will probably never see the light of day, my rough estimate tells me that that project probably took about 600 hours to write the first draft, plus another 100 or so hours of editing, and first-time authors looking to publish a book will then have to spend dozens and dozens of hours more on preparing their submission documents, pitches, synopses, researching literary agencies, finding agents who are looking for submissions in their genre, sending out hundreds of individual queries at minimum. I mean, these bastards haven't just stolen the words, the works in their finished form. They've stolen the collective billions of hours of unpaid and underpaid labor that goes into bringing those books into existence in the first place. And if you're in any doubt about what the end goal of this is, let's look at what's happening to musicians on Spotify. AI-generated clones of real bands and artists allowed to profit off of stolen work with no consequences. Shitty, soulless music, quote-unquote, ripping off bands and artists. I'm just sick to death of watching this happen powerlessly, and I need people to get more pissed off and more genuinely angry at the crimes that are being perpetrated against them. And I need to see movement for actual legislation that puts a stop to this and moves towards banning AI outright. And stop buying this shit that we need to embrace new technology or be ridiculed as a Luddite. If being a Luddite means being against a business model whose entire purpose is to impoverish people, then fucking hail King Lud. Anthropic should have to hand over not just every dime of their money, their stolen money, but every scrap of their equity to the people they've stolen from, and literally delete the models that they trained on stolen work, and close every last one of their data centers that power this fraud operation. Anything less than that is just not enough. If you are not firmly anti-AI as a concept at this point, wake up. Wake the hell up. Fuck AI. Hedgehog.